Part 92. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 913. Originally Zhang Zizai could defeat her, but now she has become a god. She has reached the level in one step and has left the gap between herself and mortals. It took a lot of effort to finally catch up with your daughter. However, now is not the time to be proud. There is still a long way to go in the future, Lord Yanjai said with a smile. Unexpectedly, she, Ji Yingying, would become the protagonist at this time. Suyuexi knew how much transformation she had to go through to become a god, and now that she had caught up with him so easily, she naturally felt a little unhappy. But she knew that this was not the point. The point was their purpose of coming here. Zhang Zizai didn't even look at Ji Yingying, which made her very satisfied. By the way, you two gentlemen are here. Do you need my help for something? Lord Yanjai Star took his seat and asked someone to consider the matter for the guests. He asked very politely. The Holy Emperor asked Shen Xiao to come to his side and said, "Does the Star Master have any impression of my disciple?" "Of course there is, he is also a talent from the Totem world, a very interesting child." Lord Yanjai Star's eyes showed a kind look. "She is the Saint Yuan of our Saint Emperor sect and a member of your Star Sea. She was tested here in the Well of God's domain and brought back. At the same time, she brought back another person who entered your Star Sea. I wonder if the Star Master has any impression," the Emperor's cycle gradually asked. "Of course I have an impression. This child has given me a lot of headaches recently. I originally wanted to accept a disciple, but I didn't expect that this kind of thing would happen. It makes me heartbroken," Yanjai Star Master said regretfully, and she looked at it. The Holy Emperor asked, "Could it be that the Holy Emperor and Brother Du are here because of this child?" "The child the Star Master is talking about is my disciple's biological sister. After hearing about her, my disciple begged me to intercede for her sister." The Holy Emperor spoke to Yanjai Star Master with a hint of temptation. Lord Yanjai nodded. She smiled slightly and said, "Then why did Brother Du come here? Could it be that your disciple is also related to that child?" "That's not true." King Du Shen pointed at Zhang Zizai and said, "This guy was chosen by the King of Gods, and he has something to do with your child." "Zhang Zizai, what is your relationship with Ling Xian? Did you know each other in the Totem world?" Lord Yanjai Star asked with a smile, as if to her, these are all things at the moment. Zhang Zizai had to make her understand that he was determined, so he simply said, "Back to Star Master, when we were 15 or 16 years old, we got married." Although the wedding was not completed, it also proved his relationship with Ling Xian. Whether it was love or not, he wanted to protect this girl and could not let anyone bully her. So this time, he came with the determination to take her away even if he died. "Oh, that's the couple. You two are quite interesting. You are a group of people, and none of them are simple. It's really unbelievable. How could such a miracle happen in the ordinary Totem world?" Yanjai Xingai said with emotion. Regarding the matter of Ling Xian, Suyuexi knew why Zhang Zizai was like this. She had already heard that he had a lot of confidants. The so-called marriage was nothing, after all, he even loved his daughter. After the feast of the God King, Zhang Zizai was planning to move Zhang Yanning and Ling Dang out during this period. Now he has enough status to establish himself here. I also find it miraculous. There are 5 of them, all from the Totem world. 3 of the boys are sworn brothers and were chosen by the God King. The 2 girls are also sisters. Shen Xiao became my disciple. That child named Ling Xian should have been able to shine in the sea of stars," the Holy Emperor said with emotion. In fact, there was a hint in his words. Judging from the relationship between the 5 of them, they definitely wanted Ling Xian to be safe and sound. Shen Xiao, a biological sister, was nothing. The key was that Zhang Zizai and the 3 of them were of the same mind. Yes, and if Zhang Zizai and Ling Xian were husband and wife, the bond of this relationship would be even stronger. The 5 of them are indeed nothing now, but the key is that they all have a bright future, and they are also important figures in the Divine King Palace, Saint Emperor sect, Wang Chuan Sword Tomb and Dao Demon sect respectively. They are all important figures in their respective sects. Hearing the words of the Holy Emperor, Lord Yanjai sighed and said, "If this were really the case, I wouldn't be so sad. To this day, I can only feel it is a pity. In fact, I have high hopes for Lingxian, and in her after coming to Xingai, I basically personally guided her to make rapid progress, from the source realm to the 6th level of the first god realm. In fact, I had already trained her and Yingying together, but I never expected that she has caused such a big disaster. Even if I value her, I still have to give an explanation to the entire Yanjai Xingai disciples. Because of her relationship, the new disciples in the next few hundred years will be affected by how important Xuanhuan water is to us. Everyone. Got it? The Lord of Yanjai Star is like this, he must know why they are here. I didn't expect that because of my Xingai matter, a few of them would come to visit me in person, but considering the relationship between these 2 children and Lingxian, I can understand why 2 elders would make the trip Yanjai Star Master Road. So, is there any possibility of easing this matter? After all, you have drawn most of the Star Spring water. No matter how young you are, who will not make mistakes? It would be a pity if such a talent is ruined because of a temporary mistake. This my child, after all, I just came to God's realm, and I don't know much about the rules of God's realm. There are always excuses, Xuanhuan said. In fact, they were already trying their best to help Ling Xuanhua. Eternal Night Star Lord hadn't answered yet, and the Star Lord next to him shook his head and said, "God King, we feel more sorry for this child than you do. After all, this is the future of our star sea. But the helpless thing is that this matter has become a big deal. If we don't punish him like this, no one in the star sea will be convinced. If our disciples in the star sea are discouraged, this matter is, but it is big, it is enough to shake the foundation of our entire section. To be honest, we want to give this child a chance to reform more than you do, but the reality is helpless." Star Lord, that's exactly what I want. Lingxuan's mistake this time really makes it difficult for me. In fact, this is a serious crime that should be executed on the spot. I changed the sentence to 10,000 years in prison. Many people in the Star Sea are not convinced, thinking that as long as they are senior, they can do whatever they want. If I forgive them again, I am afraid it will really cause a lot of dissatisfaction. If the disciples lose confidence in the sect's punishment, the impact caused, you two are as clear as I am, right? The Star Lord of Eternal Night explained. Her attitude has always been good, but this is what makes Zhang Zizai feel the most difficult to deal with, and everything she says is very reasonable and cannot be refuted at all. Please bookmark this site to read the latest. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 914. Lord Yanjai Star looked at Zhang Zizai and Shen Xiao, and said, "I know that you two have a deep love for each other, and I also know how important Lingxian is to you. We all understand that you are anxious when encountering such a thing, but I'm also anxious and helpless. Sorry, there's really nothing I can do." It sounds like she is already very considerate with such a low profile. Brother Zhang, our Star Master, also felt very uncomfortable. When she punished Lingxian, she even cried. At these times, we all liked her very much. She was indeed confused for a while and didn't know much about Star Spring water, but it just happened. He was caught on the spot by several gods, so you can't do anything to the Star Master, Ji Yingying said softly, feeling like she was about to wipe away tears. Zhang Zizai felt like he had been punched on cotton. There was no progress at all. It was completely neutralized and it was of no use at all. The more anxious he became, the more he fell into trouble. I don't believe it. Yanner is not such a person. She has never touched other people's things since she was a child. She has always been law-abiding. If you did it, I would believe it, but I don't believe that she did it. At this moment, Shen Xiao was really anxious and couldn't help shouting. Shut up! The Holy Emperor glared at her. After hearing this, Lord Yanjai Star was really unhappy. She shook her head and said, I understand that you care about your sisters, but you, a child, can't just frame others at will. According to what you said, someone still planned to frame her. The evidence is solid. I personally induced the Xuanhuan water. Can it be false? Holy Emperor, you can't let your disciples talk nonsense. Sorry, this child is also anxious, the Holy Emperor said quickly. Don't talk nonsense if you are impatient. Where does this put our Yanjai Zingai? Could it be that we all have brain problems? Why target a talent who is beneficial to us? This child's words really make no sense, Xingxiu Shenjun said slightly sullenly. Shen Xiao still had more to think about, but this time Zhang Zizai asked her to stop talking because she was too anxious to eat hot tofu. He raised his head and looked at Yanjai Star-Lord, and said in a calm tone, Star-Lord, what Shen Xiao said is not completely unreasonable, because we have grown up together, and we must know Yanner's personality best. Of course, I don't have any doubts about the intentions of everyone here, and I absolutely believe in your love and care for Yanner. I just wonder if there is a possibility, for example, there may be some misunderstanding, or there is a person who deliberately misleads her, etc. Yanner suddenly suffered such a catastrophe, we couldn't see anything, and we must be feeling uneasy, so I'm not begging you to let her go. After all, there are rules in Zingai. I just want to ask if we can let her go. How about meeting Yanner? This way we can ask questions face to face and resolve many doubts. If there were no possibilities like mine, we wouldn't be fooling around, right? What he said was very appropriate, and he respected people like Yanjai Zingai enough, and it made enough sense. After he spoke, the king of the gods took advantage of the situation and said, there is some truth in this. Star-Lord, just let them see it. This will not affect the 10,000 years of punishment. Let them understand the situation clearly. After all, they are biological sisters. We have to let them meet. It will take thousands of years, no matter how long it takes. I'm not sure whether the child can become a god. On the other side, the Holy Emperor also echoed a few words. In fact, they quite recognized Zhang Zizai's words. Now there is no breakthrough at Yanjai Star-Lord. It is impossible to let her go directly. But if they can meet, first understand the process, there may be some breakthroughs. Now let's see what happens to Yanjai Star-Lord. At least Zhang Zizai believes that now that the Du Shen King and the Holy Emperor have come forward, it will not be a big problem to at least meet him, not to talk about releasing Ling Xian. Even in the prison of Dajiang City, even criminals who are about to die can visit the prison. At this time, the Lord of Yanjai Star was silent for a moment, and then smiled and said, this is actually not in line with the rules, because in our star prison, all those imprisoned are serious crimes. The special thing about the star prison is that as long as you enter, you must not come out until your sentence is over. This is a rule set by our ancestors, and it is difficult for me to make an exception. There is really no other way. Please don't embarrass us, Star-Lord. Visitation has been prohibited in the Star Prison since its establishment and will not be changed for anyone, the Lord of Stars said in a deep voice, showing a slightly dissatisfied look. Star-Lord, there are exceptions to everything. I personally think it is not a big deal for us to meet Yanner. With so many people present, it won't spread. Rules are dead, people are alive, anywhere. Even a dying criminal can visit, Zhang Zizai said. To be honest, if he refuses in this way, Lord Yanjai Star will be a bit disrespectful to the God King and the Holy Emperor. Everyone knows about the rules of the Star Prison, but they sometimes fail to abide by the so-called ancestors' rules. At this time, Zhang Zizai had no choice but to emphasize this kind of rules. If he didn't have a ghost in his heart, he wouldn't be like this. If Lord Yanjai Star hadn't refused, he wouldn't have doubted it, but now, he seriously doubted that there must be something fishy in Lingxuan's matter this time. Under Zhang Zizai's strong request, Yanjai Star Lord still shook her head. She crossed Zhang Zizai and said to the God King and the Holy Emperor, as the two people in power, you know that the sect has some rules. I must lead by example, so I am really sorry. Yes. I hope you two can understand. Her words really left the Dushen King and the Holy Emperor speechless, because the Yanjai Star Lord had not compromised at all because of their identities. It sounds righteous to obey the rules of ancestors, but some things are more important than human feelings. She is just disregarding human feelings and not giving face. Moreover, she will not let the Holy Emperor and the King of God go down. The more Zhang Zizai feels that there is a problem, the harder it is for him to calm down. You won't even let me see you once. Did you do something wrong? Haha, Shen Xiao suspected from the beginning, so this has been her idea for a long time. How dare you, Xingxia God Lord scolded, staring at Shen Xiao with wide eyes, and said, what a rude girl, you dare to say such stupid things. Your Excellency the Holy Emperor, do you want to discipline her? Not everything can be said. This child is also in a hurry, Star Lord, please don't be offended. The other party has already given no face, and the Holy Emperor also has his temper. He didn't ask the Lord of Eternal Night to do anything, but he can protect Shen Xiao. The truth of this matter is like this, and he is afraid that he has calculated it in his mind. After all, for so many years, how could he not understand what kind of person the Lord of Eternal Night is? If she agreed to let Zhang Zizai meet, it might not be a big problem, but strangely she disagreed, so he might have an idea in his mind. Please bookmark this site to read the latest. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 915. When Xingxia Shenjun oppressed Shen Xiao, Zhang Zizai said, Star Lord, we can't even meet each other. It's normal for us to have bad guesses in our hearts. I hope you can understand our relationship with Yan'er. I don't want to cause any trouble with the Star Master, and I believe the same is true for the God King and the Holy Emperor, so I still hope that the Star Master can find a way to eliminate some of our unnecessary suspicions, right? Lord Yanjai Star stood up, with anger already in her brows. She stared at Zhang Zizai and asked, are you relying on being chosen by the God King to put pressure on me because of your status? Unnecessary suspicion, this method really doesn't mean any respect. Zhang Zizai, you are a bit arrogant, do you really know what your status is now? As soon as they arrived here, someone else asked to see them outside, interrupting their conversation. The people who came in were Tyre Sword Lord and Xuanhuan from the Wangchuan Sword Tomb, as well as Duan Mulian and Lu Dingxing from the Dao Demon Sect. Hey, it's so lively. Do you have any drinks? Tyre Jianjun jumped in with a smile on his face, disrupting the rhythm. Lu Dingxing and Xuanhuan stood beside Zhang Zizai. Their eyes had already made it clear that they would stand with Zhang Zizai. Why is there something wrong with the atmosphere? Is it because everyone is a little nervous because I'm here? Lord Tyre Sword chuckled. No, that's not the case. For this matter, Star Master can secretly release the person. After all, this is also a disciple that Star Master appreciates. As for blocking other people's mouths, it is not easy. Who dares to mess up, just abolish it? Our Dao Demon Sect does this, and outstanding disciples should have privileges, such as our Lu Dingxing Duan Mulian smiled. Their arrival is not just as simple as the four of them, because they represent the forces of the other two parties, and they still stand firmly by Zhang Zizai's side. Yanner made a mistake. It is indeed against the rules to be acquitted. We just want to see her. If the Star Master can be lenient, it can indeed avoid some unnecessary and unfounded thoughts on our part. Of course. We all know the difficulties of Star Master, we just ask Star Master to understand our mood more. Zhang Zizai took advantage of the opportunity of their arrival to calm down again, which was a step down for her. What? You don't give me even a single glance. Isn't this too weird? Duan Mulian said with an exaggerated expression. Lord Tiresword had just taken a big sip, and when he heard these words, he spat out his words. He opened his eyes wide and said, "Is the Star Spring water so good as this wine? You can't see anyone after drinking it." They were actually applying pressure in an alternative way. It seemed that they had communicated well before coming. With Xuanhuan and Lu Dingxing's status in their sect, and the fact that they were firmly on Zhang Zizai's side, these two indeed, he is not afraid of offending the Lord of Evernight Star at all. With their intelligence and experience, they all know that there must be a problem in not being allowed to meet. This is definitely not a normal Yanjai Star Lord. The four sects put pressure together, making Yanjai Xingai feel like 1,000 people were pointing at them for a while. They must think about this situation. Finally, Lord Yanjai Star said, "It is true that Lingxian cannot come out from inside, but if you want to meet, there are indeed other ways. For example, I have a totem weapon called the Mother and Son Mirror, which allows you to meet and talk. I will do it now. You can give Zijing to Lingxian." "But Zhang Zizai, how can you explain to me your disrespect?" "It's simple. After meeting Yanner, I really misunderstood you, so I apologize to the Star Master." "The Star Master felt angry and could give me a good beating," Zhang Zizai said. "Get up, there is actually no need to be angry." King Du Shen smiled and said, "Star Master should also relax a little. These two children are really impulsive. They don't speak through their brains and don't know Star Master's difficulties. I will punish them severely when I turn around. Especially you, Zhang Zizai, apologize to Star Master now." Now that they have had the opportunity to meet, Lord Mingyongye has given in. As for how to proceed next, he still has to see what happens after Lingxian. This may be a long-term matter, and Lingxian cannot be brought out immediately. Star-Lord, I'm sorry, I was talking nonsense. Zhang Zizai seemed sincere, but in fact, after the process just now, he had no trust in the Evernight Star-Lord at all. "Forget it." Star-Lord Yanjai said lightly, then took out a mirror, handed it to the Star-Lord, and said, "Take it in and give it to Lingxian." "Yes." Xingxia God Lord left directly. "It's all business. There's no need to be so serious, so as not to hurt the harmony. Come, let's all drink together." Lord Tiresword chuckled, and asked Lord Yanjai if there were any singing and dancing performances that he could watch. After all, he had come all the way to see one. The trip was not easy, but the Lord of Yanjai Star was too lazy to pay attention to him. Before Lingxian appeared, there was only silence. About 3/4 of an hour later, Lord Yanjai Star said, "That's it." She took out a large mirror, which was very bright, and appeared in front of Zhang Zizai and Shen Xiao. Then, a clear figure gradually appeared in the mirror. It was a weak woman. She seemed to be in a very dark place. In this environment, she looked pale and haggard, as if she had lost her soul. It seemed difficult to even stand. It was only after she saw Zhang Zizai and Shen Xiao that her eyes appeared some light. To be honest, after seeing her like this, Zhang Zizai immediately became angry. His eyes were blood red, and he clutched Shen Xiao's hand tightly. He was so angry that it was difficult to breathe. "You are all here, and Panda is here too." Lingxian was weak and tried to force out a smile to them. Yanner Shenxiao was trembling all over, tears could not stop flowing, her eyes were bloodshot. It was no exaggeration to say that she wanted to kill someone now. She could not calm down, only Zhang Zizai could hold back his anger, He asked, "Talk to me, what's going on, tell me clearly about the star spring water." Star spring water, Lingxian smiled bitterly and shook her head. She was silent for 10 breaths, and then, "I didn't expect that it was the forbidden star spring, and I didn't know that it was the star spring water. Although I didn't know, I made a big mistake after all, and I deserved the punishment." This sentence made Zhang Zizai's heart completely cold. Although ignorance is not a crime, some people don't care. As long as they make a real big mistake, it doesn't matter whether they know it or not. "It's really a pity, but I can't do anything about it," the Lord of the Eternal Night added. Please bookmark this site to read the latest. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 916. In the mother-child mirror, even Lingxian admitted it, obviously this was an indisputable fact. Lord Yanjai's face was full of regret and said, "To be honest, I feel more uncomfortable about this matter than you do. I can understand her. This can only be blamed on her bad luck." Everyone in the palace was silent. "Are you going to leave disappointed, with nothing to do?" Zhang Zizai definitely didn't want this. Even if Lingxian was like this, he still felt that there must be something wrong with it. So when everyone was helpless, he suddenly stared at Lingxian in the mother-in-law mirror and asked, "If there is something hidden, such as someone framed you, someone forced you, someone framed you, just nod, hurry up." He said these words very quickly and out of the blue. On the other side, Lord Yanjai Star was still talking to the king of capital gods. In the light of the carbide fire, everyone could clearly see that Lingxian nodded quickly during the moment of hesitation. At the same time, Zhang Zizai said, "Don't be afraid, I have the capital and the means to save you." Her nod and Zhang Zizai's words ended almost at the same time. The next moment, the mother-child mirror dimmed instantly, and it was obviously directly closed. Lingxuan's appearance has disappeared in the mother mirror. Zhang Zizai got the answer he wanted. He couldn't help but sneered and said, "Did you see that someone framed her and forced her to do something? May I ask Lord Yanjai Star, has this matter been investigated? It's really ridiculous. You want us to meet, but you force her to confess? It seems that you are subduing her." Shen Xiao's eyes were red with anger. In fact, with the experience of the capital god king and the others, how could they not know that there must be something wrong with this? As a mere disciple, Lord Yanjai Star really does not need to care so much. She cares about it now, so she can only understand that Lingxian is very important, but what exactly is involved is unclear. "Star Lord, how should we explain this? Why did you cut off the mother-child mirror? If there is any problem, wouldn't it be better for us to confront you face to face? Are you really guilty?" Zhang Zizai had someone to back her up, so he really didn't have to worry about her now, especially after seeing Lingxuan's haggard and fragile look. He was filled with anger, and he had the urge to kill her. He felt that Lingxian was a miserable child and her growth process was not smooth, so he felt very sorry for her and could not tolerate any bullying. Now that she was so oppressed and wronged, he had to stand up. "Stop being ridiculous." Yanjai Star Lord was still calm at this time. She wrote lightly, "I have already investigated the whole matter. Lingxian was just afraid of punishment and wanted to escape, so she lied. Probably because she saw you, she thought she could get away with it. I knew she would be like this." "Do you think you can still convince yourself like this?" Zhang Zizai sneered. "Brother, do. This kid is so rude. If you don't discipline him, I will discipline him." Lord Yanjai Star stood up. He had just calmed down, but now the intense smell of sex was burning up again. "The Star Master has promoted me. He is now the person chosen by the God King. I dare not discipline him. Only the God King can discipline him," Du Shenhuang said with a smile. "For him, the divine realm is so big, and there is no need to have a stalemate with the Lord of Evernight Star without looking up. However, in this matter, it is obvious that he has a lot of power. When they unite, at that time, it had already caused some changes in the divine realm. So King Du Shen made his own choice, and he was indeed not too afraid of offending Lord Yanjai Star. Hearing the words of the city god king, Lord Yanjai frowned. After Zhang Ziyi experienced the god king's feast, his current status was indeed very difficult. Moreover, the god king and the holy emperor seemed to have nothing to do with them, but in fact they were supporting them. Anyway, the disposal of Lingxian is an internal matter of our Yanjai Star C. As the Lord of Yanjai Star, I am punishing a disciple who has gone through the process. Is it your turn to take care of it? If you don't have any respect for me anymore, then I can only see the guests off, Lord Yanjai said solemnly. With all this, can you cover up the fact that one of you framed Yan'er? Zhang Zizai said. He was unyielding and had completely angered the Lord of Yanjai Star. At this time, the eyes of the Lord of Yanjai Star had completely changed. Her quasi-god king power was about to suppress Zhang Zizai in the blink of an eye, but it seemed that someone was helping her to block it. So Zhang Zizai is safe and sound. Zhang Zizai, you really shouldn't be so presumptuous just relying on the protection of the God King. The God King just selected you, which doesn't mean you can do whatever you want in our eternal night star sea. A person who wants to get away with his crime is not worthy of your repeated harassment. We, Lords of the Evernight Star, have our own rules. We punish our disciples and have nothing to do with you. We also ask the God King and the Holy Emperor to take this rude person away. If you still talk nonsense, we can only be rude. Yes. Even if this matter is reported to the God King, we will be confident, Xingxia God Lord said in a deep voice. They were not allowed to be released at first. We won't be allowed to meet him next time. They finally met, when Zhang Ziyi said framed and when Lingxian nodded, it was her who wanted to get away with it. Anyway, there is a reason, because this is indeed their own business. If Lord Yanjai Star has to consult Zhang Zizai when dealing with a disciple who has made a mistake, wouldn't it be a mess? So they can be confident. Brother Du, Holy Emperor, you have angered me many times today because of your unstoppable talk. I can't calm down now. I am afraid that I may not have treated you well, so I would like to invite you two first. When I have the opportunity, I will come and apologize again. Lord Yanjai Xing said. She immediately issued an eviction order. It seems that Zhang Zizai was really angry. But now Zhang Zizai was already furious. When the Lord of Eternal Night was about to leave, he said word by word, Eternal Night Star C, don't try to fool around with this matter. I regard Yan'er as my life. If anyone bullies her or frames her, I swear to make him pay a heavy price. You can drive me away today and not give me an explanation, but if I can achieve something in the future, I will make Eternal Night Star C doomed and let those who harmed her die without regret. When he spoke, he was still very fierce. This was his spiritual will and the will of his totem. After this sentence came out, everyone in Eternal Night Star C was silent, and even Ji Yingying's face turned pale. She retreated to the corner and did not dare to look at Zhang Zizai. I am the same. I will not stop until I die. Lu Dingxing's eyes were cold, and the devilish energy in his left eye was surging. He didn't say much after he arrived, but everyone could see that his will was completely in line with Zhang Zizai's. If Zhang Zizai was like this, then in the future, the Eternal Night Star C might have two enemies like this chosen by the God King. And there would be more than just two. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 917. Tire Sword Lord wanted to stop him, but he couldn't stop Xuanhuan from saying directly, I will kill whoever my elder brother wants to kill. They are of the same mind. They are all chosen by the God King. Taken together, after the God King's feast, any top force needs to seriously consider the consequences of this sentence. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. Are you too arrogant? Do you think that being chosen by the God King will lead to success in one step? You have no idea how difficult the ancient god's cultivation path is. You should wait until you are expected to become a god before saying this. The God King may not be sure now. I have already forgotten you, Lord Xingqiu mocked. As for him, everyone else frowned, and their minds were obviously a little confused, because they all knew that the God King would not joke around after this, and all the things he had experienced would become a reality, and it would only take time at most. Just a problem. Actually, I think it's a good thing that these children are deeply affectionate. After all, they are husband and wife and sisters. The Star Master will let them understand the specific process and let them really meet and make everything clear. If Lingxian really made a mistake, yes, if you want to get away with it, you can't escape the Star Lord's insight. The Star Lord didn't give him a chance at all. The young man was too impulsive, and it's understandable. Du Shenhuang smiled. It's not that I'm unwilling. From what I've seen just now, I know that Lingxian definitely wants to get away with it. She must have heard from Zhang Zizai and their current status that she thought she had hope of getting away with it. There's no point in letting them meet. I am not here to find the truth, but to exonerate Lingxian. If I don't refuse and let them find a reason to excuse themselves, I will be sorry to everyone in Yanjai Xing, she said righteously. To be honest, this old fox is really cunning. She can find a way to deal with even Lingxuan's reaction. Now everyone knows that there must be something fishy in this, but she insists that she is the righteous party. The more he covers it up, the more Zhang Zile knows that what he wants to cover up is bigger. Excuse me, Star Master, what kind of crime warrants being imprisoned in Star Prison? Zhang Zizai suddenly asked. In our Star Prison, most of the prisoners who have committed serious crimes in various places are basically heinous people. There are not many disciples in our section. Lingxian made a big mistake, and I am extraordinarily merciful to be able to imprison him in the Star Prison. Lord Yanjai said. Then let me ask you, if I call Star Master a bitch, will you be imprisoned in Star Prison? Zhang Zizai said with a smile. Zhang Zizai, Yanjai Star Lord did not expect that he would be so bold. Her momentum suddenly changed, and her whole person was full of evil. For a moment, Zhang Zizai felt the terror of the quasi-god king, but fortunately, everyone the god king blocked it immediately, so that Zhang Zizai could still stand up. However, the king of gods was probably shocked by this boy's audacity. He called Lord Yanjai Star a bitch on the spot. There was no one in the entire divine realm who had such courage. Anyway, the god king and the holy emperor looked at each other and they didn't dare to curse him. Zhang Zizai, you are looking for death. You dare to insult our Star Lord like this, even the God King can't protect you, Xingqiu God Lord angrily scolded. The other gods were also angry. Are you stronger than the King of Gods, old turtle? Zhang Zizai looked at the King of Stars and said with disdain. The words old turtle came out of his mouth made Xingqiu Shenjun's eyes go straight. In all his life, he had never been scolded like this by a generation before. This made him so angry that he forgot what he said for a while. Lord Xingqiu was Ji Yingying's ancestor, so when Ji Yingying heard the insult, he gritted his teeth. He didn't look as cute as before, but he was a bit fierce. Bitch, I insulted you, put me in Star Prison. I want to go in. Zhangziu was unafraid in the violent storm, and he even dared to look at the Lord of Yanjai Star. It's amazing, this guy, even the God Controller couldn't help but widen his eyes at this time. He could say that he had never seen anyone so bold in his tens of thousands of years of life. Lord Yanjai's eyes narrowed completely, and he was probably feeling turbulent in his heart. I will put you in a Star Prison, Zhang Zizai emphasized in a serious tone. Do you think you can find her after entering the Star Prison? Do you know how big the Star Prison is? There are murderers everywhere there, and your life will be wiped out. The Lord of Yanjai Star actually withstood this insult, but his eyes were cold. That's my own business. If I die, It has nothing to do with you, Zhang Zizai said. If she can't come out, then Zhang Zizai will go in to find her. The worst thing is to stay in there together first. Anyway, we can't let her be alone in there. Are you serious? If you die inside, I will definitely not be responsible. If you speak out today, even if the God King is concerned about it, it will not be my fault, Yanjai Star-Lord said with narrowed eyes. Haha, then I don't know. After all, you know what you have done to yourself, don't you? Zhang Zizai sneered. Presumptuous, Lord Yanjai Star was so angry that she exploded. She had never been like this in her life. Don't scare me, I'm not afraid of death, Zhang Zizai said. Then as you wish, I'll let you die in the star prison, Lord Yanjai said solemnly. If it weren't for the fear of the King of Gods, she really wouldn't have been able to force Zhang Zizai to such an extent. Then he must be able to tell that the God King likes Zhang Zizai very much. If it was just Zhang Zizai, she would even dare to kill him, but the key is Xuanhuan and Lu Dingxing. One is the descendant of Wang Chuan sword, and the other is the descendant of Taigu demon tomb. They are both firmly on Zhang Zizai's side. The three together have different weights. The key is that these two are the hope of Wang Chuan sword tomb and Daimo sect in the future, and they cannot be moved casually. If this matter is not handled well, it will cause trouble for Yanjai Xingai to be besieged by the four major forces. However, Zhang Zizai took the initiative to go to Xingyu, so she is not afraid. Anyway, this is his own request. She knows how big Xingyu is. In such a vast Xingyu, how difficult is it for him to find Lingxian? Xingyu and the battlefield of the God King are similar. When he can't find anyone and gets bored, he will come out naturally. Imprisoned in Xingyu, at least for a short time, he can be quiet. What the Eternal Night Star Lord could not have imagined was that Lu Dingxing from the Dao demon sect, a seemingly obedient young man, actually said, "Bitch, I want to go to the star prison too. I won't curse you, but don't leave me out." What star prison? I want to go in there too, Xuanhuan said indifferently. Okay, very good. Go in there and die. It has nothing to do with me. The Eternal Night Star Lord was so angry that she sneered. She really underestimated the friendship between these three young men. Sometimes young people are so passionate that they can't be stopped. Shen Xiao was also prepared, but Zhang Zizai stretched out his hand and covered her mouth without showing any emotion. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 918. Don't go in. The three of us are protected by the God King and it is unlikely that we will die, but she can kill you. The status is different, so naturally this cannot be the case. Zhang Zizai seems to be very impulsive, but in fact all his decisions are well founded. Yes, although Shen Xiao was anxious, she still trusted Zhang Zizai. With Zhang Zizai entering, she at least had expectations, so she was obedient and did not let Zhang Zizai worry about her. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. Daddy. After seeing all this, Su Yuexi felt even more worried, and she pulled the sleeve of King Laju. Don't worry, let him take this path on his own. This child is a sexual lover, no wonder. King Dushan thought thoughtfully. There is no other person like him in the entire God's domain who can make Lu Dingxing and Xuanhuan follow him like this, who can take such risks, and who can quarrel with Lord Yanjai like Chuan Dabao. Can he find someone? Su Yuexi asked. It's hard to find. The star prison is actually like entering the battlefield of the God King. Only their Eternal Night Star Sea can find people based on the marks. All the criminals are inside. In fact, in these 10,000 years, that it's almost impossible for the girl to survive. Do you know why Zhang Zizai is so anxious? He must have inquired about the star prison. Don't think you have enough time. If you don't find her quickly, you may die soon. The so-called 10,000 years is just a lie. 10,000 years later, the bones will turn into ashes, the king of gods whispered in his daughter's ear. This is too abominable. Xuanhuan stared at Zhang Zizai. She knew that the girl inside was not Zhang Zizai's real lover, but he could do this, so she wanted to know, if one day, she faced danger, what would he do? Do this? In fact, the answer already exists. When Yan Qingqi almost killed himself, he killed Yan Qingqi directly regardless of the risk. Give this to him. King Du Shen took out a crystal-like pendant, placed it on his daughter's hand, and said, let him wear it. Xuanhuan knew that this must be a good thing, so she didn't ask much. At this time, she hurriedly came to Zhang Zizai and hugged her reluctantly. In fact, she secretly put the thing in his hand and said, my father gave it to his son-in-law. Wear it. Zhang Zizai didn't know whether to laugh or cry. In fact, sometimes she was really good. With something from the King of Gods, he should be more confident. Zhang Zizai believed that it was definitely a good thing. Follow me. I hope you won't regret it. Yanjai Star-Lord turned away and asked Zhang Zizai and the other three to follow. Then Xingxiu Divine Lord said to the others, Dushan King, Holy Emperor, Tire Sword Lord and Duanmu Sect Master, this is the decision of these three people. If you don't stop them, just leave them alone and let them suffer for their youth. Newborn calves are not afraid of tigers. After some experience, I'm afraid they can grow better. Star Prison is more challenging than the God King's battlefield, and we, the disciples of Yanjai Xingai, occasionally go to Star Prison to train. Let them go, King Dushan said. At this time, Zhang Zizai and the others had left, and Lord Xingxiu quickly repaired the relationship with them on behalf of Yanjai Xingai. He had just returned from Star Prison not long ago. Honestly, why don't you two stop it? After all, Su Qinyu and Lu Dingxing have nothing to do with this matter, so why are they allowed to mess around with Zhang Zizai? Our Star Masters have been wrong too much today. If it weren't for the sake of you and the God King, you really need to teach these three young people a lesson, Xingxiu God Lord said. Tire Sword Lord and Duanmu Lian looked at each other. God Lord Xingxiu doesn't know something. The God King has had a feast, and we can't control these two children anymore. Young people have their own ideas, let them go. Maybe this is what the God King values about them. Yes, from now on they will be equivalent to the disciples of the God King. How can we discipline them, haha. I wonder what fortune they will have in the future if they follow the God King. We have to hope that they are safe and sound in the Star Prison. Then the Star Lord will probably send someone to protect them, right? When these children can't find anyone, they will probably come back. Duanmu Lian asked. Well, I guess Star Master will still protect him, Star Lord said. In fact, he had no such intention. After all, he was equally angry. But he knew that these two people kept bringing out the God Kings, which was naturally implying and oppressing them. Not long after, Dushan King and the others decided to leave first, not waiting for the return of Yanjai Star Lord. We know a lot of things well, and this time there will definitely be a stalemate, but we can still be peaceful on the surface. Of course, over the years, there have actually been many grievances, and they have not yet settled down to peace with each other. They are both characters who have lived for thousands of years. For them, any conflicts can be resolved by time. This is definitely because of the existence of the God King. As long as there is a God King, it is impossible for them to have permanent grudges. Dad, what did you give Zhang Zizai? After coming out, Xuanhuan couldn't help but ask curiously. Things that can save lives at critical moments, King Dushan said with a smile. But after they find the person, how can they get out? Xuanhuan asked. It's simple. The God King will come to take them away soon. They will definitely not be trapped in the Star Prison forever, Dushan King said. If the God King really doesn't return, the things I give can also make them leave. Star prison. Dad, you are so thoughtful, but the question is, the star prison is so big, can they find the girl? Xuanhuan asked. Then it depends on their own abilities. I'm just worried that the people from the Eternal Night Sea will go in to stop them, or just kill the girl and put an end to it, Xuanhuan said. Shen Xiao was still beside him, and she also became nervous when she heard this. It's possible. But this is based on the fact that the Lord of the Eternal Night Star has done something wrong. However, if killing can solve the problem, they can actually execute her at the beginning, and there is no need to keep her until now, so I think she may have other uses, so she won't die for the time being, the king of the gods said. Can brothers Isai and the others think of this? Shen Xiao asked hurriedly. He is very smart. If he didn't think of this, how could he take the initiative to ask to go in, the king of the gods praised. In this way, Shen Xiao was a little relieved. But, they are all so young, can they fight those people? The king of gods is their biggest reliance, the king of the gods said. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 919. Inside a meteorite, it was dark, with only the most important totem formation, which was the entrance to the star prison. Just now, Zhang Ziyi seemed to have no hesitation in entering the three of them. The dark space darkened again. The Star Lord of Eternal Night stayed where he was, with a cold look and a little bloodshot in his eyes. Yingying, she waved her hand, and a girl came in from outside, leaned on the Star Lord of Eternal Night, and called out in a delicate voice, "Mother, I'm sorry for wronging you today. No, I just didn't expect that this matter would lead to such troublesome consequences. It was a bit beyond my expectations." The Star Lord of Eternal Night looked at Ji Yingying with a kind look and wiped her head. In this darkness, the two looked somewhat similar, but outsiders could never see it. What if they find Lingxian after they go in? Will they find her? Ji Yingying said. The God King left something on them, so we can't control them. Let them wander around. That place is not something they can find. Besides, if they really find it, Yingying will almost succeed. When you succeed, she will be an empty shell, a fool, nothing. Why worry about it? Don't worry, I have someone to track them remotely. Once they have a tendency to get closer, we can get some villains to stop them, the Lord of the Eternal Night said. Mother, I'm sorry for making you suffer for my business. Ji Yingying hugged her arms, tears in her eyes. This is Yingying's best chance. With her bloodline, your qualifications can be improved to a higher level, better than the three of them. It's nothing for mother to suffer a little. The Lord of the Eternal Night showed a gentle look in his eyes. These three men bully you like this. One day, I will tear them into pieces, Ji Yingying said with hatred. The Lord of the Eternal Night smiled slightly and said nothing. Mother, when can I call you like this in public? Ji Yingying said. Silly child, your father's identity cannot be announced now, so there is no way, but don't worry, that day will not be too far. Your father will appear soon. Really? I am looking forward to seeing him very much, Ji Yingying said with a smile. The light flashed, and they shuttled through the passage of the totem formation. Finally, at the last moment, the three of them came out of the totem formation and stood on a barren land. What came to them was a smell of blood and corpses. This was a completely dark place, which looked even more disgusting than the battlefield of the God King. Now looking around, you can see that all the ground under your feet is black gravel. The ground here is not flat, and you can feel that it seems to be a little curved. The horizon is also very close. Looking up, there is thick fog in the sky, and no stars can be seen at all. The name here is called Xingyu, but it seems to have nothing to do with stars. In fact, we should be standing on a huge star. This is the star prison, Zhang Ziyi said. The star is big enough, so the ground looks flat, but it is actually curved. This place is completely different from the flat land in the god's domain. It's a bit magical. A star can actually stand a person. If you go below, won't you fall down, Xuanhuan said. Then I don't know anyway, the meteorites in the eternal night star sea have directions. People can stand on them, but not below. There are clouds and fog everywhere, and you can't see your fingers when you stretch your hand. Only the ferocious breath is wandering around. Boss, how to find it? Lu Dingxing asked. Zhang Zizai first took the crystal pendant given to him by the king of Dushan on his body, and after putting it into his clothes, he said, "There is no clue for the time being, let's find a direction. If you can find the criminals imprisoned here, they must be more familiar with this place than us. But, those who can survive in the star prison are basically very dangerous. It is said that there are murderers at the level of God Lord here," Xuanhuan asked with a little worry. Zhang Zizai knew this in his heart. So, it depends on luck. They are all teenagers. In the God realm, this age is no different from babies. The real ordinary people in the God realm are ancient gods, and here in the star prison, there are ancient gods everywhere. They dare to come here, which is really bold and reckless. The thugs here will not show any mercy to them. Seeing such a clean boy, they can tell at a glance that he has just come in and can be ravaged. How can he not be twisted in his heart after staying here for a long time? Brother Zhang, do you think there must be something wrong with the Lord of the Eternal Night? Xuanhuan was still a little unfamiliar, and was still used to calling Zhang Zizai like this. Yes, she definitely has a conspiracy, Zhang Zizai nodded. In fact, I can see it too, Xuanhuan said. Things that everyone understands, but she just wants to quibble. She can let us in, so there must be a way to prevent us from finding her, Zhang Zizai said. Then what should we do? Just wait and see. As long as you come in, you will be one step closer to her. People are still alive, so are you afraid that there is no way? Of course, they were indeed cautious enough in this star prison. As they moved forward, Zhang Zizai also made a mark. Yaner. Looking at the endless darkness, Zhang Zizai knew that she was in this world, and maybe she was still suffering now. Maybe she was waiting for him, just like she was waiting for her parents to come back, and he must not let her down again. The darkness was endless and ruthless. Lu Dingxing patted his shoulder and asked, "Boss, do you have her things?" Zhang Zizai could only search in the space jade pendant. After searching for a long time, he found nothing. It seems that he and Lingxian have never exchanged gifts or anything. If Lu Dingxing had come earlier, he could have gotten it from Shen Xiao. "What do you have in mind?" Zhang Zizai asked. "There is a kind of skill in the inheritance of the demon tomb that can be used to find people by borrowing objects," Lu Dingxing said. "You idiot, it would be better if you had it earlier," Zhang Zizai said depressedly. If he had been earlier, he would have been ready. Shen Xiao must have a lot of them. "It doesn't matter, you are her things." Lu Dingxing stretched out his hand, and there was a black vortex on his palm. When his palm was placed on Zhang Zizai's body, it seemed to absorb something. "What do you mean?" Zhang Zizai asked. "I guess you have a lot of contact with Miss Lingxian, so you have the breath left by her on you, and you don't need any external objects at all." Xuanhuan. "Yes," Lu Dingxing nodded. "Very good." Zhang Zizai smiled. The ancient demons in the ancient demon tomb had many lost things, and no one in the God realm knew about them now. Lu Dingxing happened to be good at these. This was a very mysterious method, because Lingxuan's breath left on Zhang Zizai was almost gone. With such a weak traction, he could still provide some guidance. This was an incredible method. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 920. The skill Lu Dingxing used came from the inheritance of the ancient demons. It was a special skill called, Suingzin Chasing Soul Skill. It was a very terrifying tracking method of the ancient demons, but it had been lost long ago. Zhang Zizai hadn't been with Lingxian for a long time. With the remaining breath on his body, he could find clues about her. Such a skill was really incredible. Perhaps the Lord of Yanjai and the others had no impression of such skills. At least this Suangzin chasing soul skill brought some hope to Zhang Zizai, so he let Lu Dingxin try. He lingered on Zhang Zizai for a long time. People who didn't know would think they had some intimate relationship. After all, he stretched out his hand and randomly touched. After touching, he probably collected enough clues. It would have been easier with the God Guidance Ring and other similar things, but the Lord of Yanjai and the others would never leave such things to Ling Xian. Lu Dingxin pondered for a while with the Suangzin chasing soul technique. The black vortex in his hand was gradually changing, and one of the white dots was condensing and finally taking shape. After it took shape, the black vortex was like a lake, and the white dot was like a ship on it. This combination was a bit like a compass. The white dot was originally in the center of the vortex, and then it suddenly moved to the left and reached the left side of the vortex. When Lu Dingxin turned around, the white dot was on the right side of the vortex. The direction of the white dot should be the direction of Ling Xian, which meant that Lu Dingxin had succeeded. Boss, I have 70% confidence. At least, the direction will not be wrong. The direction provided by the Suangzin chasing soul technique is already very good. Even if it is not so accurate, at least Zhang Zizai will not go in the opposite direction. You are really amazing. Zhang Zizai patted his thick shoulders and couldn't help laughing. Let's go, race against time. Yes. The three of them were all decisive people. After getting the initial clues, they sped up in one direction. When everyone started to speed up, Zhang Zizai suddenly found that these two guys ran faster than him. He was already the top in speed, but he felt that he couldn't catch up with them. Have you broken through? Zhang Zizai asked speechlessly. A month ago, the 9th level Lu Dingxin said. Brother Lu is amazing. I just broke through 2 days ago, Xuanhuan said. It turned out that they all reached the 9th level of the initial God realm. I remember that they were only the 8th level during the Feast of the God King. In just 2 months, they have broken through. Sure enough, having the Wang Chuan sword and the Demon Tomb inheritance is a reversal. This is where the God King values them. In this regard, Zhang Zizai is indeed difficult to compare with them. They are ahead of Zhang Zizai again. Of course, Zhang Zizai is also happy that his brothers are better than him. This even gives him stronger motivation, and the desire to become a god in his heart is even stronger. What do you feel now? Zhang Zizai asked. I feel like I can try to fight the ancient god, Xuanhuan said. Lu Dingxin nodded slightly. He must have had similar thoughts. When they reached the 9th level of the initial god realm, there would definitely be no opponent for them below the ancient god. Of course, the ancient god was another realm. The ancient god's source power was a force they could not resist. It would not be that simple to fight the ancient god. Seeing their progress, Zhang Zizai's motivation became more fierce. This was also a challenge. After all, he was the eldest brother, and he had to be the strongest. This was reasonable. Although he did not have the luck they had, Zhang Zizai knew that he had more hidden things in him, but they were not as obvious as they were. Is there a change in direction? In a blink of an eye, they had advanced for about half an hour. The surroundings were all grey land, and they had not encountered anything for the time being. No, still, guide, this direction, Lu Dingxin said. Perhaps it was a connection in the dark. Zhang Zizai felt the same way, and wanted to get closer to her. This gave him more hope. They were in this dark world, breaking through the wind. At this moment, a threat suddenly came. In the midst of the lightning, a sharp claw stretched out from nowhere. The claw was like a sword, tearing the air, and countless crescent-like auras were born, covering the three of them. Zhang Zizai used their own methods to escape from the attacks of these and those claws. When they broke away, they could see clearly what suddenly attacked them. In the darkness, it was a silver wolf. This demon wolf was very tall, and its silver hair was very pure, soft, and shiny, which could be very beautiful. Even in this dark world, this demon wolf shining with silver luster was very noble, and its hair was particularly gorgeous, but Zhang Ziyi was curious about why he didn't notice its approach just now. According to reason, its appearance was so ostentatious, and it would be very eye-catching if it approached. In addition, what made Zhang Ziyi feel cautious was that the breath of this demon wolf was very different from that of ordinary source beasts. It was very close to that of the soul-devouring ant queen. Even compared to the soul-devouring ant queen, its physical body was more majestic. One could even feel that its flesh and blood had power comparable to the source power of the ancient gods, and its soul was obviously at the level of a divine soul. The divine body, divine power, and divine soul, the three combined into one, clearly showed that this was a divine beast comparable to the ancient gods. It is said that there are many mythical beasts in the star prison, and basically all of them are those that have caused misfortune to life outside, and they were also sent here. This is the moon-eating monster wolf. It is indeed a divine beast. This kind of divine beast is relatively rare. It is said that it can absorb moonlight and become stronger. It can grow to very strong. However, in such a dark place, it should be almost useless. Xuanhuan recognized it immediately. What is this magical beast capable of? Zhang Ziyi asked. In addition to the powerful melee fighting ability, there are several other kinds. For example, the first kind of totem magical power is called Phantom. It was able to approach us silently just now because its hair can change and form a kind of magical power. The invisibility effect makes the aura extremely weak. The second one is called Crescent Slash, which is the method that attacked us just now, and the other one is called Dark Night River, which is also very lethal and will not be used easily. When Xuanhuan was talking, the moon-eating demon wolf looked at them with a hungry look on his face, and even drool dripped down. He had been hungry here for too long, and now he saw Zhang Ziyi and the others. They were already hungry, so naturally it was impossible to let them go. Please bookmark this site to read the latest. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 921. Star Prison is a very risky place. Because the spirit of the gods is very thin here, the longer they are imprisoned, the weaker they become, and their cultivation may even continue to decline. I heard that in order to survive and to serve out their sentence, they may even continue to kill each other to maintain their own losses at the expense of their divine source, flesh and blood, and the divine beasts are even more simple and direct. If they eat the ancient gods or other source beasts, they can survive for a longer period of time. Xuanhuan stared at the moon-eating demon wolf that was about to go crazy. We still have things like divine crystals with us, wouldn't they be delicious? Zhang Ziyi asked. The spiritual energy in the divine crystal is definitely much easier to absorb than flesh and blood and divine source. It's like this. Prisoners who just come in are basically like this. If they are weaker, they won't be able to last long. Everyone who is imprisoned in Star Prison basically has a sentence, but when they are released from prison, they can get out safely. Yes, there are really not many of them, basically all of them died here. Therefore, this Star Prison is indeed a frightening place. For Lord Yanjai to let Lingxian be imprisoned here for 10,000 years, it is no different from giving him death on the spot. In fact, they have never faced an opponent truly comparable to the ancient gods. This moon-eating demon wolf has been in this Star Prison for a while. It is obviously hungry, and even dizzy with hunger. Don't look at its silver color. Her hair is still beautiful, but she is actually very skinny. Do it. When the moon-eating monster wolf started to attack, the three of them had already formed a siege and moved faster. Zhang Ziyi and Lu Dingxing had cooperated countless times since then, so they basically had a tacit understanding. Xuanhuan had just joined them, but in fact works really well with them too. In short, Lu Dingxing was very conscious and transformed directly into the fighting holy demon panda. Its shape was very huge and it was fully capable of competing with the moon-eating monster wolf. He directly attracted the biggest attention of the moon-eating demon wolf. After all, it was obvious that he had the most meat on his body and tasted the most delicious. Xuanhuan walked around behind the moon-eating monster wolf. The Wang Chuan sword in his hand was shining strangely in the darkness, like a dim yellow river flowing in the sky. When the moon-eating monster wolf rushed towards Lu Dingxing, Xuanhuan happened to kill him from behind. He was now proficient in many kinds of swordsmanship, and his attainments in swordsmanship were much better than Zhang Zizai's. They are both at the 9th level of the first god realm, so just let the two of them be the main output. Zhang Zizai hides behind Lu Dingxing, moving left and right with the great chaos thunder god flash, appearing and disappearing. The moon-eating monster wolf can indeed become invisible. Once the phantom is cast, it is sometimes difficult to grasp its position. At this time, it depends on Zhang Zizai's prediction. The three of them teamed up to fight against the beast, which was very exciting. The crescent slash of the moon-eating monster wolf comes from his minions. This is a very fast beast, and its speed is also its advantage. When it reaches the extreme speed, only silver light can be seen flashing, and then there are crescents everywhere. Cut. In addition to crescent slash, Zhang Zizai also saw the power of the river of dark night. As his body wandered, a silver-colored river gradually formed, entangling the entire battlefield. The scope of the river became larger and larger, and within the river, there is a very lethal force of the moon-eating monster wolf. This is the river turned into by his hair. Once it enters or is entangled, it is equivalent to 1,000 swords piercing the heart. The divine beast is the divine beast. No matter how long it stays here or suppressed for too long, the lethality displayed is very shocking. Both Lu Dingxing and Xuanhuan were restricted by the river of dark night, especially Lu Dingxing, who was surrounded by a circle of the river of dark night. It's hard to get rid of. Got it? Zhang Zizai slashed out with the blood prison sealing sword in his left hand, predicting the position of the moon-eating demonic wolf with one move. Perhaps his attack seemed to be the weakest, but the moon-eating demonic wolf didn't pay attention at all, and even prepared to resist a move directly. With its intelligence, it couldn't figure out how it could suddenly become unable to move after resisting a move. Lu Dingxing and Xuanhuan have long been familiar with Zhang Zizai's methods, so they reacted very quickly at this juncture. Lu Dingxing seemed to be purely hand-to-hand combat, but in fact, many of his fighting techniques were inherited from ancient demons. The skill is just incomprehensible to outsiders. For example, at this time, he just relied on his own strength to pin the moon-devouring demon wolf on Lin, and smashed his violent fists on his head in circles. The wolf's head was indeed tough, but at this time, the panda's claws beat the straight sword. On the other side, Xuanhuan's sword technique was like a woman's scattered flowers, pouring down and directly opening a large number of blood holes in the body of the moon-eating demonic wolf. Don't kill. Zhang Zizai appeared directly in front of the moon-eating demon wolf. He thought Lu Dingxing was holding down the beast, and he took out the beast-controlling talisman. Last time, he controlled the Qingfeng dragon bird on the battlefield of the God King. Unfortunately, the Qingfeng dragon bird was also heroic. After being sacrificed, a few months later, the beast-taming talisman happened to be usable again. The cooldown time of this beast-taming talisman was getting shorter and shorter. It probably has something to do with the source beast under control. This time, Zhang Zizai wanted to challenge this mythical beast. It was said that the spiritual power of the mythical beast was very strong, and the beast control talisman might not be able to control it. Hold it down for me, Zhang Zizai said. Good. No problem. Lu Dingxing's huge body of fighting holy demon directly rode on the moon-eating demon wolf. The red bloodlines on his body exploded, which shows how much power he used, while Xuanhuan used a Menjiandeo. Countless sword shadows actually weaved a sword net, and the sword net wrapped around the moon-eating demonic wolf. The moon-eating demonic wolf would be fine if it didn't move. A slight struggle could make the sword net stab into flesh and blood. To be honest, after many years in this star prison, it no longer has the bravery it had in the past, and now it is just lingering on. Otherwise, it would not have been suppressed by 3 mortals. Zhang Zizai was still using the infinite time-breaking blade to deal with it. At the same time, he took out the beast-taming talisman with his left hand and pressed it directly on the forehead of the moon-devouring demon wolf without saying a word. The moon-devouring demon wolf really struggled to lose strength, and Zhang Zizai's blood was also greatly hindered. The beast-taming talisman was trembling and it was difficult to move forward. The moon-devouring demon wolf was very angry and kept roaring in a low voice, but Lu Dingxing and others still held it down. "Follow me, it may be possible to take you away from here." Zhang Zizai knew that he would definitely understand what he said. Sure enough, after he said this, the spirit of the moon-devouring demon wolf loosened, and Zhang Zizai drove straight in. The beast-taming talisman was successful again. This time it was unprecedented, and it was a divine beast that was controlled. When the moon-devouring demon wolf gave up struggling, Zhang Zizai also let Lu Dingxing and others let it go. He really would not treat the moon-devouring demon wolf badly. Do you miss the sun-devouring wolf? Please bookmark this site to read the latest. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 922. The source beasts that were previously controlled were all sacrificed, which made Zhang Zizai a little depressed. This time he wanted to make up for it. If possible, he would definitely want to take it out. Moreover, Zhang Zizai directly gave it benefits. First, he used the Holy Light Talisman to heal its wounds, and then gave it some divine crystals. The divine spirit of the divine crystals was exactly what it needed. Under the nourishment of the divine spirit, the moon-devouring demon wolf recovered some spirit. It might have been stronger in the past, but now it has fallen to a cluster of steps. If it can go out, it may not be able to recover to its former peak. A place without moonlight is definitely a nightmare for it. After it was done, the moon-devouring demon wolf quickly recovered its brave state. I am interested in its ability of Phantom. Zhang Zizai and the other 2 climbed onto the back of the moon-devouring demon wolf. The moon-devouring demon wolf's hair was so long that it could almost cover them. When it cast the Phantom, even Zhang Zizai and the others were hidden. This way, we can move much more covertly in this star prison. This guy must have relied on this ability to survive until now. The moon-devouring wolf is fast, and it can also take Zhang Zizai into invisibility. It is indeed very useful, and at critical moments, it can also be used as a fighting force. Its single combat power is stronger than any of the 3 of them, especially when Zhang Zizai constantly uses some magical medicine and holy light talismans to nourish it. In this way, they sat on the moon-devouring wolf, and the speed was at least doubled. The moon-devouring wolf moved forward invisibly, and there were several risks, but Zhang Zizai avoided them in advance. Even if he had the divine breath talisman to detect, in fact, once he got a little closer, those strong men could easily find him. If he could be invisible, at least his whereabouts would be much more elusive. "How is it?" Zhang Zizai asked Lu Dingxing. Lu Dingxing looked at the white spot on his hand and said, "It's getting closer, but I can't be sure how far it is." Zhang Zizai sat on the wolf head, stroking the silver hair of the moon-devouring demon wolf, and thought of the girl with bloodshot eyes. In fact, there are many women in his life who have left a deep impression on him. Even Feng Xiaoxiao is hard to let go. And there are actually many predestined relationships between him and Ling Xian. From Yan Longxiu to Longsheng dynasty, and then to the Well of God's domain. She won't be too much, but Zhang Zizai always knows that if she will fall in love with a man in this world, it should be himself. For each girl, his mood is different. For example, Shen Xiao, in fact, there are too many entanglements of love and hate. Sometimes it is more like a friend, and you can confide a lot, but Shen Xiao himself doesn't really want to move forward. For example, Suyuexi, she is very straightforward and frank, and doesn't care about many things. Of course, Zhang Zizai can accept her feelings, but if there is really no fate, or if he can't let go of the second person in his heart except the 9 immortals, he can also leave calmly. But he is a little afraid of disappointing Yan'er. From the beginning, he has been cautious with her, because she is very afraid of being supported. In the past, Zhang Zizai thought that she could have her own future, pursue her own way, and realize her own wishes, and Zhang Zizai would be relieved. But suddenly something like this happened again, and Zhang Zizai could find that he really cared about her. She had suffered a lot, that's why, if someone hurt her again, he would be so angry that he would become a devil. In fact, on the way to the eternal night star sea, he has been restraining himself. Until now, he has not let himself fully show the volcano in his heart that has been suppressed to the extreme. He thinks that she is such a kind and touching girl. Why does this world still hurt her? Those people really should be torn into pieces, and their death is not a pity. That day, they suddenly joined forces to kill Prince Long Yun. She was holding his hand in her sleep. It was hard to forget that night. Zhang Zizai really didn't want to see her cry for anything again. In fact, all this was deeper than the relationship between him and Shen Xiao and Suyuexi. In the well of the divine domain, she had been following him silently. Others would think that Zhang Zizai and Shen Xiao were closer and talked about everything. However, he might not know that he wanted Yan'er to be happier than others. No matter how powerful she was fragile in Zhang Zizai's heart. The devil who harmed her will make you pay 10 times the price sooner or later. All the things that had happened were like fleeting glimpses. The picture in his mind was frozen at that moment, when she stood in the side hall of the palace, with the sun shining on her side face. She put on her formal dress for the first time, waiting for the arrangement of fate. That day, she was so peaceful, and the Flame Dragon Emperor gave her marriage to him, and she also accepted it. Fate imposed too many things on her. It was like a miracle that she could live to this day. So, why is fate so unfair? For example, Shen Xiao, she is very lucky. Wherever she goes, she can always be the focus. She can become the Dragon Saint in the Dragon Saint dynasty and be accepted as a disciple by the Saint Emperor in the Saint Emperor Gate. She is still very glorious. But Ling Xian is different. She survived a near-death experience in Zilongjia and suffered such a disaster again in Yanjai Star Sea. She is not a nosy person, but those people are targeting her again. The more this happened, the more Zhang Zizai was upset. Boss, she will be fine. Lu Dingxing saw the gloom and irritability in his eyes and said in a deep voice. Yeah. Zhang Zizai took a deep breath. People have already entered the star prison. This road cannot be regretted. Now he can only move forward bravely. Get justice. Fortunately, there are 2 brothers following him in this challenge. Zhang Zizai feels like he has returned to the age of 9, when the 3 of them went on an adventure in the wilderness. It was like this. Xuanhuan, he is still here. God will not let down kind people. Xuanhuan nodded. Zhang Zizai will not count on God too much. There is no fate in the world, only struggle. The moon-devouring wolf ran wildly in the darkness, and Zhang Zizai's scarlet eyes were like a wild wolf seeking revenge. 1, 2. The moon-devouring wolf was dodging all the time on the road. It had a lot of experience in saving its life in this star prison. As long as it wanted, it would basically not run into other people for a year, because once it ran into someone, it would most likely be killed. The ancient gods here would not show mercy when they met the beasts. Maybe it's getting close, Lu Dingxing said. Zhang Zizai nodded. About a quarter of an hour later, they suddenly seem to have broken into another space. This space is very strange, it is darker than outside. Just as they came in, there were suddenly people in front of them, and suddenly there were sounds of ghosts crying and wolves howling. Please bookmark this site to read the latest.